7 o'clock.
Okay, hit record.
Yeah, what's that?
Give it a second to turn it.
Okay, I am going to call the meeting of the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee to order. Today is Monday, April 4th, 2022. The time is 7 p.m. and we're in the Aldermanic Chamber. The meeting is also available via Zoom teleconference. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or the city's website for the meeting link. Let's please start with a roll call attendance.
Thank you. Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly, Chairwoman.
I'm here.
Alderman at Large Ben Clemens, Vice Chair.
Ben is unable to attend due to a death in the family.
Alderman Tyler Govia. Here. Alderman Tom Lopez.
I'm here.
And Alderman Derek Tebow is here. So we have 4 in attendance. That is a quorum, so we're good.
Thank you. Also in attendance is Administrative Services Director Ms. Kleiner and Mayor Jim Donches. Okay, we'll start with public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to anything on the agenda this evening? Is there nobody? Okay. Communications?
None.
Interviews?
Timothy Sennett for the Downtown Improvement Committee.
With a term to expire April 1st, 2025.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm here to introduce Tim Sinat for the Downtown Improvements Committee. Tim is very interested in the downtown. His enthusiasm for it is very infectious, and I've talked with him about it a few times. He's attended one or more meetings of the Downtown Improvement Committee, has been reading the minutes and kind of watching the committee's activities for a number of years. He is he moved to Nashville a long time ago, attended high school at Nashville High School. He's actually the moderator in Ward 7, so he's active in the community that way. Mary Lou Blaisdell, who's the chair of the committee, knows Tim and feels he's a very good appointment. And therefore, I'm putting him forward with a lot of enthusiasm and look forward to his participation. And I will ask Tim to introduce himself, tell you a little bit more about himself and of his interest in the Downtown Improvement Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. So as the mayor mentioned, I am a long-term citizen of the city of Nashville. I've been here since I was, just about 9 or 10 years old, so I'm coming up on about 28 years here in the city, short of a year and a half when I moved out with my wife for the first time. But we quickly moved back because Nashville is where she grew up, and Nashville is where I've always wanted to live. I have a young son who's 7 years old. This is where I want to raise him. I want him to go to our schools. And as the mayor mentioned, I am very enthusiastic about the downtown area. Growing up, many of my friends either lived in the French Hill or the Crown Hill community, where I now live. And so downtown Nashville was the go-between for us. And we spent many a weekend, many a weekday night exploring the area. I once used to joke that we knew every loose brick on the sidewalk when the sidewalks were all made of brick. I've seen a lot of businesses come and go in the years that I've lived in Nashua. Many that used to cater to a younger demographic when we were teenagers growing up. Unfortunately, not so many there now, but I'd like to see some come back. One thing I've observed about our downtown is that in the recent maybe 5 or so years, it's been more thriving than I've seen it in a long time here in the city. I've seen what the downtown can look like when we kind of let it subside, and I've seen what it can look like when we put our best efforts into it. And I very vehemently believe that the latter is infinitely greater than the former.
Thank you. I will open it up to questions from the committee. Alderman Lopez.
You choose now, like now you want to get involved in downtown particularly?
I did.
You sure?
I do, and I suspect I know why you asked that question, because of the contentious discussions happening over downtown. But again, I feel it's an opportunity, as with many things throughout the city, for residents throughout to decide where they stand on it. And as I mentioned, I do believe that this is a very exciting time for our downtown. We have some really exciting prospects right around the corner with the Performing Arts Center preparing to open. I'm familiar with the booking agency that is planning to run that operation. And if they run their operation even 3/4 as well as they run some of the venues that they have throughout New England now, I think Nashvilleans are in for a really great surprise.
So I think some of the contention that we've been seeing is due to change and due to transition. There's definitely a lot of competition between people who are open before 5 p.m. to people who are open after 5 p.m. And as we bring more people downtown and as we see businesses changing and shifting and adapting to the new anchors and the new dynamics that are happening downtown, we're likely to see that. How do you see the Downtown Improvement Committee being able to navigate those differing uses of space and to be able to contribute in managing downtown as an opportunity for everybody?
Well, my familiarity with the Downtown Improvement Committee is largely comprised right now of some of the deepest stakeholders that we have in the downtown community, the storefront owners, restaurants, retailers, and even just some property managers. And I feel that they're going to have the greatest stake as Main Street evolves and the Performance Center does open. Like you said, there is a split right now between businesses that are open during the daytime as well as businesses that are primarily open during the nighttime. What I'd like to see, ideally, is that line start to blur, because I do believe that primarily the operations of the Performance Center are going to be an evening operation. That's going to drive people into downtown to take in a show, dine, and after they're done those activities, they're going to want to explore and find opportunities to engage in recreation, whether it's shopping or other manners of recreation. And it's my hope that that's going to incentivize some of those shop owners that are not typically open during the evening hours to become open. Maybe that might take a further investment in the business, but at the same time, it's my hope that this improved engagement within downtown will create those opportunities for them.
I am very encouraged by the observations you made, particularly, and by your position, because I agree that the Downtown Improvement Committee is currently formulated of some of the longest standing stakeholders, and they're very passionate and very dedicated to the work that they do. But I do think we are inevitably going to need perspectives that are a little bit more wide-reaching as things change. Change can likely be the most difficult for people who are used to things a certain way. So I think there's a huge opportunity, particularly in bringing more diverse representation to Downtown Improvement Committee, not because there's a deficit in perspective with the people that are there, but because there's opportunity to grow. I agree that we are likely to see a lot of more evening activity, and there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for retail operators to recognize that and try to adapt. I would just also suggest that there's opportunity in the morning as well that we don't take full advantage of, where I don't think most places would even consider the possibility of having, say, a musical performance or a musician downtown at lunchtime or in the early afternoon, because nobody is going to be there, but there won't be until there's a reason for people to come. So I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity that the Performing Arts Center or the Center for the Arts will bring. And I think it's an opportunity to build more opportunities as we go. So I appreciate your willingness to step forward, your open-mindedness, and the perspective that you're bringing to the committee.
Thank you, Alderman.
All set, Alderman Lopez?
Mm-hmm.
Alderman GOV?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, thank you for putting your name forward. Anybody who wants to put their name forward for a committee like the Downtown Improvement Committee, definitely very honorable of you to do, because very thankless job. Because I think everybody has seen in the past few months and over this whole project with the downtown barriers. With that being said, though, so we talked a lot about, or you talked a lot about how your vision for downtown Nashville and where it would be. Where do you see downtown Nashville in the next 5 years?
My hope is that downtown Nashville is going to become a lot more of a vibrant community. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I've seen it at a less vibrant stage. I've seen it at a more vibrant stage than it is now. Members of this committee who were at the one of the task force meetings a couple of nights ago may recall that I mentioned some of the very lively block parties that Nashville used to have when I was just a child. And that was something that my family brought us down there for. And it was such that my parents would disappear often to, I don't want to incriminate them, but Martha's or wherever, you know. And my brother and I were left to explore the activities outside, but they were so open and family oriented that that was something that was okay to do. I'd like to see more of that come back. At the risk of making too on the nose a comparison, I've, you know, brought forth the comparison to other communities that are very lively. The Central Square area in Cambridge, to a larger extent, to a smaller extent, the Moody Street area in Waltham, Massachusetts. These are communities that I feel are doing a lot with their downtown areas, and it's turning a corner for them. I was down in Waltham this past summer on a Tuesday, and a Tuesday afternoon at 11 o'clock. Again, that's something that, you know, Alderman Lopez mentioned. We're not making use of the morning hours, and the place was alive. That's the only way I could describe it. It was alive. And there was, to me, no striking reason for it to be other than the opportunities were there. So that's where I'd like to see Nashua going as we evolve our downtown, as we take the expanded dining program and we adapt it to the needs and the vision for downtown in the next 5 to 10 years.
Just a quick follow-up. Thank you.
Alderman Lopez.
In your opinion, what would be the current state of downtown Nashville?
The current state of downtown, I think it's on a precipice. I think the Nashua Center for the Arts is going to be a huge factor in pushing us over that precipice. Discussions I've had with my neighbors, my family, things that they'd like to see is more passive recreation. Right now, our downtown is largely comprised of restaurants and shops, and there's nothing wrong with that. That absolutely drives foot traffic. But any active community, especially at downtown, is going to need a draw to bring people in, whether it's a performing arts center or something more passive like an escape room or something like that, because that's what gets you into the area. Then you go for dinner, then you go to the shops. And so that's what I'd like to see come forth.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you again for bringing your name forward, Mr. Senat. So I've seen Main Street for 50 years. I know I don't look it, but just kidding. And I've seen the ups and downs. I'm old enough to know that I actually went to a movie on Main Street. There was a movie theater there. I want to know from you, outside of the escape room, because you just mentioned that, and outside of restaurants, what kind of business would you bring, or would you want to bring as a committee to Nashville? Or what you'd like to see? I know you guys wouldn't bring the business, but what would you like to see downtown that's different than what we have down there today?
Not to steal your answer, but I mean, you said it right off the bat, a movie theater. And I think some of the limits that come when you envision downtown is you think a movie theater, you think AMC or Cinemagic up in Merrimack. One of my favorite theaters is a single screen theater in Peterborough, New Hampshire. And they'll do first run movies, they'll do art house movies. Similarly, but with an additional screens, the Wilton Town Hall Theater. Something even like that would fit in the space that we have, I think could bring a real liveliness to the city. In addition to that, I'd love to see a music venue back, a smaller scale music venue, because naturally we've got a very large one coming in. But I've mentioned before, one of the businesses that had me downtown every Friday and Saturday night growing up as a student in Nashua was a performance center over on Factory Street called Drifters. It was they marketed themselves as an all-age coffee house, but what it was essentially a venue for teenaged local bands to go and play in an alcohol, drug-free environment that was geared towards positivity. So to attract somebody who wanted to bring something in like that, to work on a more local scale as a music promoter, I think would be a real boon to the city.
Thank you.
All set, Alderman Tebow? Okay. I have a question. Thank you for stepping forward, as everyone else has said. It's, the work that these committees do is it's good work, but it's volunteer time, so I appreciate you stepping forward. I am a downtown business owner myself, so I'm there every day. I actually wanted to ask you, so I'm sure you're aware that the Downtown Improvement Committee actually gets a pot of money that's from our parking each year. And one of the main things they do is decide what to use that money for. So I was wondering if you had any ideas for what you might use that for, and this year or the coming years.
Well, I know once upon a time there was a large investment being looked at in the city in signage. Something I mentioned the other night with the task force is that it is my opinion that as we stand today to walk out on Main Street, we do have a wealth of parking that I feel is not adequately marketed. We have municipal lots that I think many people, if you were to walk down and just survey them throughout the city, weren't aware that they were a municipal lot. I made the illusion that if I could not find a parking spot right in front of the Nashville Garden to go in and get a sandwich on my lunch break, I know where I can go behind the building, pay the meter, and walk in the back door. I'd like to see more of a light shown on some of that, because I hear it as one of the most frequent criticisms of downtown. Well, there's no parking, there's no parking. I'm personally of the opinion that there is parking. I just think we need to do more to bring that forward to share with the residents of the city.
Great, I appreciate that. I am all set. Does anyone else from the committee have any additional questions? Alderman Lopez.
I would be doing my constituents a disservice if I didn't bring up the signage towards places and businesses too. There are some areas, for example, over by the library where the library walk isn't entirely known unless you know that it's there already. And there's a lot of businesses in there like Pickers Paradise or Glorious Possibilities that can be accessed by parking in the library area. And that helps bring downtown together, because some people may be going to have their kids go to an event at the library, or hopefully soon the Streeter Theater, and don't necessarily know that this is all connected. It's not a bunch of the back of buildings and parking lots and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of wayfinding needs in Nashville, particularly in the downtown area, that once you know, but until you know, it's a big scavenger hunt.
I absolutely agree, Alderman. As I referenced growing up, that's part of the advantage of the exploration that we did growing up in, finding our ways around downtown. I once joked in an argument that my mother lived on the north side of Nashville, and I live in Crown Street. Or in Crown Hill? Do you really think that when it came time to leave, I just sat at every light down Main Street to get to my house? There's ways in and around Nashua, and I think we could do a real service to the downtown area by creating greater visibility for those.
Great.
Well, thank you for being willing to step forward.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you for being here. We'll take up your nomination in a few minutes.
All right, thank you so much.
So next on the list, we do have some new appointments to the Cable Television Advisory Board. Ms. Kleiner, were you going to speak to them?
Good evening. Kim Kleiner, Director of Administrative Services. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. First, I want to apologize. It seems like there was some sort of administrative hiccup on our part. Normally, the Cable Television Advisory Board consists of 15 members. 6 of those generally come to the Board of Aldermen. They're appointed by the mayor, and they come to the Board of Aldermen for approval. The remaining are staff members that are assigned to the advisory committee by NRO. So you'll see that this particular chapter has been amended twice within the past 5 years. There's been some slight changes. Legal was removed. The Director of Administrative Services was added. We also changed the director of IT to a member of IT, the chief information officer. The changes that were sent to you are just the staff changes. So what you saw is with the new chief of fire, Chief Buxton joined us. The new chief of police, Chief Rourke, he actually appointed Deputy Fay as his designee. Lauren Byers is the designee of the Director of Public Works. And Greg Rodriguez is the designee of the Superintendent of Schools. So our apologies, normally those go from the mayor's office or administrative services to the chair of the committee, who's Andrew Sonata, and he has been chair for some time. And we report those to the chair, and they're accepted into the minutes of the meeting. And I think they were reported to you this time as new appointees.
There was some confusion between
Yes.
the two of us, yes.
So our apologies. But it does give me the opportunity, which I'd like to take advantage of letting you know of some really interesting things that the committee is working on at the moment. So last Friday, there was about a couple months ago, an RFP put out for the management of the Access TV studio. There were 2 proposals submitted, Bardis Russell Broadcasting, and then CMSG, which is Mr. Gagnon, who's been doing it for a number of years. They were interviewed by members of the committee, and last Friday, the committee made the recommendation to go with Bardis Russell Broadcasting and put them forth to the administration. So we'll be working with Bardis Russell Broadcasting to do a contract, which will go to finance and then to the Board of Aldermen, because it's a multi-year. So that was exciting. That'll be new management of the Access channel over on Riverside. Then we're also working on the Comcast franchise renewal, which has been about a year-long process now. And we're working heavily with the legal department on that, and we hope to have that to the Board of Aldermen sometime late May. So those are 2 big things that we're working on. You've also seen, upgrades here to the chamber, to room 208. There's discussion of some upgrades with the new DPW building that's being built and putting in the opportunity to broadcast from there. So I think that the committee's been hard at work. We meet as needed, but most often we meet at least quarterly, if not before.
Thank you, and thank you for being here, Ms. Kleiner. I think there was just some confusion as them being new appointees, and I didn't recognize a couple of the names. And when I was looking afterwards, I was like, oh, these are designees. This is not in our committee. So I appreciate you clarifying and giving us a quick update. Alderman Lopez.
I had similar recognition of the addresses and wasn't really looking forward to deciding whether or not the fire chief was going to be on the Cable Television Advisory Board. In the context of the announcement about Bardis and Russell Broadcasting, I understand them to also be the ones who manage WSMN.
That is correct.
So is something we can anticipate, maybe a better coordination between radio and television, or are they suggesting any changes to broadcasting programming?
Yes, so I would suggest the RFP submittal is out on the website. I think they have some really interesting programming that they have brought forward. And I think, one of the things that the committee took into consideration is just how can we bring forward new programming, engage our citizens, bring them into and have just more diversity in our programming, and I think they really had some very talented ways of thinking of doing that, so.
I'll
we're
definitely
excited.
give George and his team credit for recognizing all of the work that programs like First Gen American represent, but I also have some concerns about the programming that led to that. So that was where I just want to be conscious of the fact that this is the CTAB's responsibility, but as a city, we want to make sure that the program really is inclusive, and sometimes the messaging that may seem to an individual to be engaging may be somewhat disconfirming to others.
All set, Alderman Lopez?
Yep.
Anyone else from the committee? Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, applications to license hawkers, peddlers, iterant vendors licenses.
None.
Appointments by the mayor.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend confirmation of the reappointments to the Board of Registrars. Adriana Lopera Espedia,
Adriana.
I'm sorry.
No, that's your fault.
And,
It's spelled incorrectly.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Okay. And Gwendolyn Mikhailov, both with terms to expire December 31st, 2024.
You keep going, you can read all the way
Okay.
through.
The following new appointments to the Cable Television Advisory Board: Steve Buxton, Lauren Byers, Deputy Joseph Fay, and Gregory Rodriguez, all with indefinite terms. The following two reappointments to Cultural Connections: Sandra Pratt and Rosemary Ford, both with terms to expire March 1st, 2025. The following new appointment to the Downtown Improvement Committee: Timothy Sanat, with a term to expire April 1st, 2025. And the following reappointments to the Planning Board: Robert Bollinger and Scott Leclerc, both with terms to expire March 31st, 2025.
You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Senate. You'll be invited to the next Board of Aldermen meeting to be sworn in. Of course. Unfinished business,
None,
new business resolutions.
none,
New business ordinances.
none.
We have nothing tabled. Second period for public comment.
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I just congratulated Tim for his seat on the Downtown Improvement Committee. I think he's a perfect fit, and he's definitely going into a hot spot right now, but I think it'll improve. I think we're at our hopefully most contentious time, and things will calm down. But I think it's important for everyone to remember how it became so contentious. And I think there's been a lot of missteps that have happened here in uniting the community and marketing appropriately, not just to our downtown businesses, but to our citizens in general. And I think when you don't come forth with credible communication from the beginning, it creates barriers for people that cause problems. And I think the downtown businesses and groups were not united enough in open dialogue to work together to come up with a plan. I also think this barrier issue was a very tricky kind of backdoor thing because it was put there during the pandemic for a specific reason, and everyone thought it was the pandemic, and then it blew into this 3 more years thing. And now I fully know it's all of this is predicated and happening because of the Art Center opening. And I can see that what the mayor wants to do is position enough businesses to have enough seating to handle venues when they occur. But it's not going to happen this year. And I really think you don't have to have the barriers placed for outdoor dining this year at all. There's going to be no performances during the time barriers are out. And I also think that the data that the mayor provided just didn't justify doing that. You know, creating a vibrant downtown is important, but getting the buy-in of your citizens is important, and your stakeholders, and we are stakeholders, by creating credible communication. And I think it was missing here. On another note, I am super frustrated by our leadership in this city and some of our top management positions. I think they're not suitable. I think your legal office, Ms. Kleiner, and the selection that the mayor is picking for these people, he puts conformity over credentials. And that's a problem for me. It's a huge problem for me. I've come out of some very difficult lawsuits that I've fared well. It's not easy to play attorney and have to run a trial with 2,000 pages of documents, but the miscommunication, the misinformation given in court, the need for the city to write
30 seconds.
clarification is concerning. You know, this city went up to the Supreme Court in Concord, and our attorney gave testimony that was not truthful and was caught at that by me and Ms. Calhoun. We wrote to the Supreme Court, not following any rules at all. 10 days later, the city submitted clarification, which is now being countered by Ms. Calhoun's attorney because it was not clarification. And these are sanctionable acts, and I've grown tired of it, so thank you.
Would anyone else like to offer public comment? I don't see anyone on Zoom, and that is the last person in the chamber. We have a period for general discussion. Any general discussion? Alderman Tebow.
Yeah, I just want to speak to Ms. Ortolano's comments there, especially her opening comments. I hope she's right. I hope we do, once, whatever happens with the Board of Aldermen next week, when we do get the barrier extended dining, whatever you want to call it, through or not through or whatever, that we can go forward and have, a good city where people are starting to get back to normal and get back to getting along and to working together, even though we have differences. And I personally hope it's a vibrant downtown in the summer, and I hope everybody gets to enjoy it as much as possible, and that the city does go forward. So I thank her for making those comments. I agree 100%. So thank you.
Alderman Lopez.
As a point of order, before I make my comments, is this general discussion or aldermanic comments?
We are in general discussion technically, yes.
Okay. Would the chair entertain my comments if it's not specifically human affairs?
That's fine. You mean personnel?
Personnel administrative affairs, you're right, sorry.
It's okay, I do it all the time.
It has an A in it, so I get confused. In addition to this committee, I was on the infrastructure committee last year and the previous year when we were discussing the conception of the barriers. As the representative for downtown, I've been very involved in a lot of programs and projects over the past decade, maybe more. But I can speak for myself and say that I wasn't doing anything for what the mayor may or may not have intended with regards to the Nashua Center for the Arts. I know that it has been an ongoing objective and opportunity to bring people downtown to benefit all the businesses, and that in order to do that, there are a lot of Nashuans who have put a tremendous amount of organizing effort and energy into using that space on Main Street creatively. Whether it was parking days, it was an event that was done, I think it was maybe 10 years ago, where we took a parking space and reimagined them and used them as outdoor gardens, as live art performance spaces, that kind of thing. Or whether it is downtown art festivals or farmers markets or utilizing underutilized walls for public art. There's been a lot of effort to increase foot traffic downtown to service businesses that are downtown, to keep them alive and to keep them vibrant. I came from a community in Concord where at the time of coming to Nashua, downtown in Concord was dead, and Nashua had a far superior downtown merchant community because of its walkability and because of the efforts that Mayor Lozo put into making sure that sidewalks were more accessible, were more had more versatility to them so that we could do things like events and activities. And I think that really helped Nashua over the past several years maintain its economic resilience, weather some pretty tough times, whether it was the Great Recession or the more recent pandemic. And it's created a very strong community of people that go downtown to spend time. They don't pass through downtown. And I think a lot of the contention that we've been seeing over the past week or over the past months, it certainly does have some element of communication due to it. I know that things are characterized in a manner that people who want to see them a certain way will present them that way consistently. They will say that presentations have been made before they were made, that meetings are happening before they're happening, and that because there's no documentation of meetings that didn't happen, that there's some wrongdoing. But as I understand it, the presentation of the downtown arts, or the downtown extended dining program, that is an aldermanic responsibility, was only presented at Downtown Improvement Committee as a forecast, 3, maybe 4 days before the Board of Aldermen meeting. Even though we'd been hearing for weeks that there was some sort of nebulous plan that was being discussed by the aldermen. So for myself, I was aware of that as soon as it came to Downtown Improvement Committee. As the alternate liaison, it was literally the first meeting that I could attend that they organized that I was aware of in my role as liaison, and there were no meetings, to my knowledge, before that. This Board of Aldermen didn't exist in its present form prior to that either. So I think it was introduced when it was supposed to be introduced. I think there's been plenty of visibility and plenty of public comment and opinions on it. And I don't think it's just communication that is the reason for the contention. I think it's because people fundamentally use downtown in different ways. Some people use it in the morning, some people use it in the afternoon or the evening, and some people just pass through it. So when we put Jersey barriers up, to some people inside the barriers, that's restaurants, that's memories, that's performances, that's time spent together. And to people outside the barriers that are interested in passing through downtown, that's an obstruction. I don't know which is the best way. I know our master plan says that we need less traffic and less people in the same place. I know as Alderman for Ward 4, there have been a number of accidents on the side streets of people trying to eject themselves from Main Street traffic, and pedestrians are typically the targets of that, but they're not the only ones. We've had a number of literal run-ins with the intersection right outside City Hall. So I think as we try to adjust to new understandings and new uses of downtowns relative to what other people might have experienced, you're going to see a lot of distress, and you're going to see a lot of disagreement, and you can see people who will participate in the exact same meeting and have different takeaways from it. And that's not necessarily a function of communication. It's as much a function of people having different ideas about how to do things that ultimately will have to work together in order to do them together. Thank you.
All set, Alderman Lopez? All set, okay. I'm just going to weigh in because I think that every time we have an appointment to the Downtown Improvement Committee, we tend to have a robust discussion about our downtown. And I always appreciate it because I do own a business down there. I'm down there every single day. My husband and I chose Nashville because it had a downtown. So I just, the vibrancy of the city and to your point, Mr. Senate, the fact that it is continuing to change and grow, you know, and that I haven't been here as long as Alderman Tebow, but I have been here for a decent amount of time. So I think that, you know, wherever you land on it, having some heart for our downtown and our city in general is always really fun. So I just wanted to comment that especially when we have people put on the Downtown Improvement Committee, it's always a very fruitful and interesting discussion around what we want for our future. So any other, we'll move on to remarks by Alderman. Okay, we've got one. Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Chairwoman. To Tom's point, that was great. What you said was exactly what I was thinking, but could never say it as good as you can, and you live it, because that's your ward.
I just keep talking until the words make sense.
So great job on explaining that. That was perfect. I just wanted to I know we have a huge audience here today, so I just wanted to say that it's Public Health Week here in Nashua. I think they had a ceremony this morning, and there's a banner flying, I believe, in the front of City Hall. Today's theme was racism in the public health arena, and I watched the videos, like a couple-minute video I watched this morning on it, and read the email we got this morning. So I don't know what tomorrow's theme is, but I just wanted to put that out there. People who are listening and can enjoy those emails and look on our website. I'm sure we have something on our website on it. So thank you.
Alderman Gavea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oof. Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations, Tim. You're very passionate about downtown. You have a great vision, some great ideas. I think you'll be a very big asset to that committee.
Anyone else? Okay, do I have a motion?
I move to adjourn.
All right, the motion is to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I didn't vote, but I'm also in favor of adjourning.
Without a
Meeting is closed at, what is the time? 7:40. Nice job, everyone. Thank you.